Hello everyone, this is Breaking Brian. We're back with another deep dive for The Walking Dead. This will talk about things in the show that are and are not from the comics. So the episode starts out unlike the comics, where we see a flashback of Shane back in the hospital, the same one Rick woke up in from his coma. It is complete chaos. Soldiers, patients, and staff are running past Shane. Shane tries to stop a doctor and begs her for help, but she sadly refuses him. We don't know if she did it because she was scared of him or she really couldn't help him with the soldiers dragging her and the others. While unconfirmed, we can assume they were taken somewhere not overrun with the dead, like Atlanta. So Shane looks on and sees a bunch of poor patients and staff getting gunned down in the hallway by the military. It's never revealed if they were bitten or not. The soldiers then shoot them in the heads afterwards so that they don't turn. This confirms that the soldiers are aware that everyone is infected regardless of how they die. Then we see the piece of trash soldiers getting attacked by the walkers from the cafeteria and they start munching them to pieces. Human trash. And they wildly fire, hitting each other. I hope you guys enjoy hell for what you did because that's what you deserve, you cowards. Anyways, Shane takes a hospital bed and gets out of there. He goes back to Rick's room and doesn't know what to do with Rick and the machines. He then hears something and gets down hiding as a soldier comes in. The soldier sees Rick but doesn't do anything as he gets called back in the hallway by another soldier. So fun fact, Shane had a scrap deleted scene with a Private Gaines. It was actually filmed and talked about but never appeared on the Blu-ray. Apparently Gaines and Shane were going to have a standoff over whether or not he was infected, but they killed the zombie together and parted ways. Back in the show, Shane stands back up and begs Rick to wake up. Suddenly the power goes out and the machines die. So hospitals have backup generators, but nothing happens here for some reason. Anyways, Shane tries to listen for Rick's heartbeat but doesn't hear it and thinks that he's dead. Shane goes back outside as more chaos happens. He looks back to Rick's room and Shane decides to block the door with the hospital bed so that the zombies don't get to Rick's body. Shane then leaves the hospital. Now back in the present in the CDC, Rick and the group enter the building. As you can clearly see, the interior is nowhere near as bright as the cliffhanger last episode teased. Everyone makes it inside and they hear a gun. They aim their guns and see Jenner, who has a rifle on them, asking if anyone is infected. Rick mentions Jim, but that he's gone now. Jenner asks what they want, which he already knows the answer to, a chance. Jenner is willing to let them stay, but says that they need to do a blood test, and Jenner tells them to get their stuff because he's going to seal the doors shut. We see everyone coming back with their bags as they finally close the doors and close the shutters down. Rick introduces himself to Jenner. We then see everyone in the elevator together going down as Daryl asks about Jenner's gun. Jenner then teases Carl, implying he's dangerous. After that, the group is walking, and here we find out that Carol is claustrophobic. This will never ever be shown or mentioned ever again in the entire franchise. After that, they make it to the control room as Rick asks where everyone else is at. Jenner tells them that he's the only scientist left. Lori asks about the woman he was talking to earlier, Vi, and Jenner shows them that she's just his AI in the facility. Anyways, they do the blood work as Andrea says it's very pointless. After hearing from Jackie that they haven't eaten in days, we then see everyone in the kitchen. Everyone is smiling and laughing as they're drinking wine and eating pasta. Now, this doesn't happen in the comics, but this episode is mostly based on issues 8 and 9 and parts of 14 and 15. In issue 8 and 9, after Shane's death, they find a nice gated off community called Wiltshire Estates, with lots of food, beds, and it seemingly is safe. However, it actually is not safe. It is full of zombies that killed Donna, Alan's wife, and they're forced to leave. Back in the show, Dale tells the Grimeses that kids drink wine in Italy and France, implying Carl should try some too. Lori is against this, but Rick convinces her. Now, if anyone forgot, let's remember that Lori is secretly pregnant at this point with Judith. So yeah, Lori drank a whole bunch of wine while Judith was in her stomach. Carl tries the wine as well, and like all kids, hates it and calls it gross, making everyone laugh. Shane tells Carl to stick to his soda, and Daryl urges Glenn to drink. Everyone toasts to Jenner, even Daryl, who steals Cyborg's catchphrase. This is ironic as Daryl will eventually become a cyborg in the future and in many alternate timelines like Death Stranding. Shane wants to know what happened here and asks Jenner, and Jenner tells everyone how most of the people left to go find their families, and after the military outside was wiped out by the dead, many off themselves being far too scared to go outside, and so Jenner was the only scientist that stayed alive. After dinner, Jenner says that they'll have to sleep here because most of the housing places were powered down already. Jenner then tells the kids about the rec room that they can play in, but warns them against the video games because they'll draw too much power. Dang, tough break for the kids. Jenner also tries to warn the adults not to abuse the hot water, which they excitedly disobey him on. We see Lori is excited, enjoying her first hot shower in months. Remember, they had to sparingly use the RV's cold showers back in the RV. Rick arrives and gets Lori extra pregnant so that Judith will get a twin. And meanwhile, Shane drinks wine in his shower like a loser who got dumped, while Andrea is crying in her shower like a victim from a slasher movie. After their showers, Dale and Rick are walking, and Dale hears Andrea vomiting in her room. Dale arrives in her room and helps Andrea, who is vomiting in the toilet. She flushes it down and backs away, still crying. Dale tries to comfort her, and Andrea confirms that it wasn't the wine or that she's sick, but that she is depressed about there being nothing in the world that is left, so nothing matters now. Dale tries to convince her that they can start again, but Andrea says it again and is too nihilistic, saying that there's nothing left anymore. Meanwhile, Rick, mostly drunk, checks on with Jenner, and Jenner says that the blood tests showed no surprises. As we all know now, he was talking about how he could find the dormant cells of the virus in everyone's blood, not that they're clean from infection. Rick is very drunk and drops to the floor, doing his best impersonation of the kid that was all "I see dead people." He's like, "You don't know what it's like, Jenner. I've seen crap." He tells Jenner he was lying to everyone about hope and safety, as he knows that eventually Lori and Carl will die one day. Meanwhile, in the rec room, Lori is walking with some wine and finds Carol and the kids. They talk about the books that are here, and Carol tells the kids that it's time for bed now. Lori asks Carl to say his prayers because she wants to stay a little bit. Now, this is one of the very few times Carl and Lori are implied to be religious in the show. In the comics, Carl is never known to have ever prayed, and Rick is either agnostic or atheist. It's hard to say. Religion is a very hard thing to figure out in the Walking Dead universe. Even Carol says it's a miracle because they're finally going to get some sleep tonight. In the comics, Carol is a complete nutjob and wasn't religious. Lori looks at some books, and Shane stalks her like a rapist. And he's so drunk, he forgot to button up his shirt. He slams the door, scaring Lori. Shane tries to roleplay a bad boy from high school and tells Lori that she's going to listen to what he has to say. Okay, so yes, Shane does have every right to say his side and tell Lori he didn't mean for things to happen like this and can't blame him for everything that is wrong in her life. Lori tries to leave, and Shane says back at her that he didn't lie to her about Rick's death, which technically is true. Shane didn't lie, he was just wrong. He thought Rick died, but he miscalculated. Also, in the comics, Shane actually never went back to the hospital to get Rick. So Shane tells Lori back in the hospital it was complete chaos and Rick didn't wake up, so what was he supposed to do? Lori should definitely cut him some slack here, as Rick survived an impossible situation. Shane then puts his hands on Lori, telling her he had to get her and Carl somewhere safe, and he even assaults her, slamming her on the furniture. Shane then asks if she thought Rick was still alive. After he told her he died, would she have gone back after him and risked her own life? Lori is speechless here, which heavily implies she probably wouldn't have gone back for Rick in the hospital and would have prioritized her and Carl's lives versus finding him. Shane then says he loves Lori and wants her. Lori refuses and tries to tell Shane that he's drunk and to stop. Shane keeps trying to eat Lori as she begs Shane to stop, but to no avail. Shane keeps touching Lori as she shouts. Lori then claws Shane in the neck, finally pushing him off of her. Now in the comics, a similar thing happens where Lori scratches Shane back in the Atlanta camp after he punched Rick. This was after Amy died. Here in the show, both Lori and Shane are shocked at what just happened, and Shane storms off as Lori cries. Now, I know I constantly rant about Lori, but I do feel bad for her at times in the show. She's a misguided woman who makes mistakes and does suffer for a lot of her choices. Anyways, Rick arrives in their room super drunk, and I thank God he didn't mistake Carl for Lori. He falls on the bed, and Lori is crying after almost being raped. Rick tells her that she doesn't have to cry because they're safe, and Lori doesn't tell him what happened. The next morning, it's breakfast time. Lori's having juice and bacon, and it looks like Carl is having juice with some oatmeal or cereal. Rick comes and is super hungover. T-Dog comes to the table with some hot powdered eggs. Not gonna lie, I really wanted to try these when I first saw them. Meanwhile, poor Glenn doesn't feel invincible anymore. Everyone is here, minus Daryl, as they even have some brain pills on the table for their hangovers given to them by Jenner. Rick can't even open his bottle because he's so hammered. Glenn tells them to never ever let him drink like that ever again, which actually never happens. Shane then arrives and goes to get some coffee and is sore after last night. T-Dog notices the scratches on his neck, as how could he not? He looks like Freddy Krueger attacked him. And Shane lies, saying that he did it in his sleep last night. Shane then eyes Lori like a sexual predator, and Lori keeps on eating her bacon. Jenner arrives and goes to get coffee too, and Dale tries to talk to him, and Andrea's like, we didn't come for the eggs. Andrea, didn't last night you said nothing mattered anymore? Anyways, the characters go to the computer labs, and Jenner replays footage of TS-19, the name of the episode, and the test subject, 19. They see a brain, and we get all inside out as Jenner explains how the brain works, how we feel things in our brain. Jenner mentions how the brain has everything of who we are deep down, our past, our present, our feelings, which all go away when death happens. Jenner shows them how the brain dies when someone dies from the virus. You see, this entire episode is a metaphor for death itself, for himself. We all fear death. We try not to think about it. We try to avoid it, but death comes for us all. Lori tells Jenner how Amy died 2 days ago, which is why Andrea is upset, and Jenner tells Andrea that he also lost someone close to him as well. Jenner says that their time of reanimation is very different for everyone. He references people like Amy, who lasted 8 hours before turning into a zombie, while others took mere minutes. It is never explained why people have different reanimation times. We then see a red light in the dead brain, and Lori asks if the virus restarts the brain. Jenner tells her that it only reawakens the brainstem to get the body moving in basic functions, but the other brain parts don't come back, so the person is dead. They then see a big flash, and Carol is surprised, asking what it was. Fun fact, Robert Kirkman didn't like this episode because he believed that it revealed too much about the world of The Walking Dead and the zombie virus. Anyways, Andrea says that Jenner shot the person in the head, his test subject, and Jenner confirms it. Andrea rightfully calls Jenner out on his incompetence with the virus, and Jenner lists off many things that the virus could be, as Jackie also suggests the wrath of God as well. Like I said, the Walking Dead show is more supernatural. Andrea says someone, unlike him, has to have an answer for this, and Rick also asks Jenner how he can't know for certain. Jenner says everything died. He was alone for almost a month, and Andrea, once again, tries to affirm that there is only death out there. There is nothing that they can do. Daryl leaves to go get drunk again, which is pretty hilarious. Afterwards, Dale then speaks up and mentions how the wall clock that's counting down when only 1 hour left. Jenner tells him that at 0, the building shuts down because there's going to be no more fuel. Rick asks Vi what happens after the power cuts out, showing that she's not voice protected into obeying people. After that, Rick and the other men head down the basement, very concerned with Jenner, feeling like he's hiding something and that he's kind of crazy. They go down to the basement generator room and see that the generators are almost all completely dry. The lights are going out and they are very worried. Meanwhile, in the rec room, Lori realizes that the AC isn't working anymore. Man, is Carl doing homework right now? Talk about torture. Meanwhile, back in his office, Jenner is talking one last time to a photograph of his wife Candace, apologizing for failing her. Jenner says that they always think they'll have more time, and right out cue, the power in his office dies, as Jenner says that then it runs out. Like I said before, this is very symbolic of death, from Puss in Boots' The Last Wish. We always want to do more with our lives and think death won't come for us. We keep denying him, but then he comes and it's over. We wasted all the time life gave us, and death comes to collect what is due. There is no escape. In the hallways, Carol and Daryl ask what's going on, as Jenner takes Daryl's drink for one last swig and tells them that the building is shutting the power down one piece at a time and they're on schedule. Everyone follows Jenner as Daryl badgers him with questions. Everyone meets up back in the computer room as Rick asks what's happening. Jenner tells them that they're at the halfway mark now, and Jenner gives the bottle back to Daryl, but apparently another man's lips on his drink is too gross for even Daryl. Jenner then says that the French were the last people he knew that were working on something with the virus, and somehow this will inspire a terrible spin-off. Rick asks what happened to them, and Jenner says that they lost power and calls out humanity's stupidity on over-reliance of fossil fuels, which never last, just like anything else that we do. Rick shouts for everyone to get their stuff and that they have to leave now. However, after that, the alarms sound with less than 30 minutes left, and the blast doors activate and locks them all in. Isn't there another entrance into the computer room though? Whatever. Jenner then records himself one last time as everyone begins to panic, and Daryl rages on Jenner trying to attack him. Rick demands that Jenner open the door, but he refuses and says that he can't. Jenner says he told them this would happen and that it's better this way. Rick asks what is and what will happen when the power runs out and shouts at Jenner. Jenner shouts back that the CDC is dangerous and has to protect the public from their nasty diseases here. Now, with 99% of the human race dead or walkers, this is kind of pointless, just like everything. Jenner then tells them what will happen with the HITs getting deployed. Vi then defines it and tells everyone that HITs are explosives that will burn and destroy and level everything, as everyone cries and hugs in horror at the realization they are going to die. Jenner coldly says it will be no pain, an end to sorrow, grief, and regret, and then finally, everything. Like I said, this is very symbolic of death himself. He reaps everything good and bad. He is a mercy and a horrible end to all living things. Daryl then breaks the bottle at the door and shouts for Jenner to open it now. Shane and him take their axes and try to break down the door with them. This is symbolic of people trying to fight and escape death. The children are crying. Jenner says how life will be painful and agony out there and that this is better for everyone. However, they're not convinced. Rick says that he doesn't want this for his family, showing how Rick is the type of person who knows death can come at any time, but living for the time they have left is better. Jenner tells Daryl that the doors are built to withstand a rocket launcher as Daryl charges at Jenner with his axe, saying that his head won't, making another hilarious moment. The group tries to stop Daryl from axing Jenner, and they push him away. Jenner tells them that they do want this quick death, as he reminds Rick of how last night he came and told Jenner how he knew everyone would die sooner or later. Everyone is rightfully very annoyed at Rick for this, even Lori. He is so in the doghouse for this, and Rick tries to cover his future sex privileges. Rick then says that there's still hope, and Andrea once again is a nihilist, saying that everything is gone. Jenner says this is it. This is their extinction event. I love the word extinction, as you guys know. I use it for my spin-off series. Carol is crying, saying that Jenner can't do this to them, as Sophia doesn't deserve to die like this. Shane then comes with a shotgun, ready to blow off Jenner's head. Rick then tries to stop Shane and tells him that if Jenner dies, they all will die. And then Shane freaks out and wastes a whole bunch of ammunition, destroying the computers. Glad one of those didn't have to open the door. Anyways, Rick shoves Shane down, taking his gun away from him. After that, for some reason, everyone looks at Rick like he's crazy. Rick then calls Jenner out on his hypocrisy, saying that he stayed alive and didn't choose the easy way, death, for a long time, and Jenner tells him he didn't want to but had to for his wife. Lori is smart and says that TS-19 was his wife. Jenner confirms this and says that he tried to find a cure to honor her, as she was bitten and dying. He says that she was a loss to the world, as she actually ran the CDC facility while Jenner was just a normal doctor. He even implies that she could have made the cure for humanity, not him. Rick then begs Jenner for a chance, and Lori says that they want to keep trying out there for as long as they can. Jenner eventually gives in and finally opens the blast doors for them. They open and everyone rushes out shouting. Rick thanks Jenner for the chance, and Jenner says that the day will come where he won't be grateful for the second chance at life. And we see that Glenn shouts, "Let's go," right after this. This is either incredible foreshadowing or really terrible and cruel writing and irony. Jenner then takes Rick's hand and pulls him in closer, whispering to his ear that everyone is infected with the virus as it's all in their blood. Rick doesn't find this out until issue 15 in the prison. Now, why Jenner is whispering this to him instead of just telling him normally makes no sense. Glenn shouts back that they have to go with only 4 minutes left. You can see him holding Carl here, one of the very few times these two will ever interact. Anyways, T-Dog and Jackie are running, but Jackie stops and says that she's staying. This is very weird, as Jackie earlier was implied and throughout the whole season to be religious, yet she's choosing suicide. T-Dog rightfully says that that's insane, but Jackie says that it's the opposite, as she doesn't want to end up like Chim and Amy. Now, I don't know who this Chim guy was, but he must have been the all-time GOAT. Everyone is shocked, but Jackie tells them that they have to get out while they still can. Everyone is leaving, and Dale is like WTF Jackie. Andrea then goes off her comic route and says that she's gonna stay too. In the comics, Andrea is never suicidal. Everyone is running up the stairs trying to get out, and Dale goes to a despondent Andrea, telling her that Amy wouldn't want this for her. Andrea doesn't budge, saying that Amy is dead and that Dale needs to leave right now. Back in the lobby, everyone tries to get out of the building, but the doors are locked up tight. There's no power to them, and they can't open the doors, and I guess they can't shoot them either? I mean, they can't be bulletproof, right? Or the handles. Anyways, Daryl and Shane take their axes and try to break the windows down, but they don't work as Carol looks on. The clock is still going, and Andrea says that time is almost up. Back in the lobby, T-Dog tries to use a chair to break the window. Now, dog, I like the effort and energy, but come on, man. Think, dog, think. Shane then finally gets his brain back and reloads his shotgun and goes to the window and finally shoots it. Unfortunately, the glass is completely bulletproof too. Carol then calls for Rick and says that she has something that can help them. Shane makes a funny joke about how a nail file probably won't do it. Carol then goes to her purse and mentions how she watched Rick's uniform on his first morning at camp and found and took the grenade from his pants pocket. Now, how Rick forgot about the grenade in a camp with children in it, he just dropped the ball. But why did Carol steal his grenade? Well, there is one theory I came up with. She was saving it for Ed. As in, she was, at some point in the future, going to prepare herself to use it on him, to kill him with it. Yeah. Anyways, Rick takes the grenade and goes to the window as everyone takes cover. Rick pulls the pin out and drops it, and then wastes seconds. Yeah, great idea, Rick. The grenade goes off and finally breaks the window. Back in the basement, Dale gives up and sits down, waiting for the explosion. Andrea asks Dale what he's doing, and Dale says that he's gonna stay. Andrea then asks Dale, demanding that he leave, and Dale says back at her, hey, if you go, I go. Once again, Andrea tells Dale to leave. She doesn't want him here, and Dale refuses, saying that Andrea can't make him care about her and check out of life, saying that he's gonna stay if she stays. Outside, Rick and them are trying to get clear of the blast radius, and they face down some walkers. They kill a few here and there, and Daryl even decapitates one. They all make it out, and T-Dog fires his rifle from the waist for some reason. Yeah, definitely wasting a shot. They finally make it to the vehicles as Rick gets in the chair and gets the keys to drive off, but Lori shouts as she sees them. Rick looks and sees Dale and Andrea making it through the window. Back in the basement, Jackie and Jenner look and see that they got out, as there's barely 20 seconds left until they die. Now, Jenner and Jackie's death actually partially inspired from the comics. You see, in the comics, Tyrese had a teenage daughter named Julie, and she had a boyfriend named Chris. They wanted to pull a Romeo and Juliet, and Chris convinced her that they can kill each other and live together in eternity. Now, in both the show and comics, a nerdy white guy convinces a vulnerable black woman to die with him, except in the comics, Chris fires first and kills Julie before she shoots him back, while here in the show, Jackie and Jenner die together, holding onto each other, embracing death. Time is up. Lori shouts for them to get down, and Rick tells everyone to get down as everyone begins to take cover as the explosion finally goes off. The HITs are deployed, and the CDC is engulfed in flames. We get a massive CGI fireball explosion, and everything is destroyed, killing Jackie and Jenner. After the explosion, Rick looks on, the rest of them are still alive, and look at the massive fireball. Dale and Andrea then get up and get inside the RV, and we get this country music playing as Rick starts up the RV and begins to drive them away from the still burning CDC. They do a U-turn and drive away to somewhere else. Now, like I said many times before, this episode was a writing metaphor for the cosmic entity of death himself. Is life worth suffering for and living to make it one more day? Should you have kids if you discover that in 100 years humanity would be extinct? Should we keep trying in life when death will erase everything we've ever done or will do? It is a hard philosophical conundrum of what is the meaning and point of anything, life versus death. And that's going to be it for my episode 6 review of the season finale. See you guys next time for season 2.